Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Tom Brenneman.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome in to Off the Bench with Tom Brenneman. But it is not Tom Brenneman today. It's Paul Fritschner, and it is great to be with each and every single one of you. It is Monday morning, and we have a ton to talk about. The Reds win a series down in Miami. Matt McClain gets called up to the big leagues. We had the same NBA bubble playoffs that we had back in whenever that bubble was, 2020. The conference finals are back at it again. And you know what? We have a lot to talk about because we also still have to get through the Bengals schedule that we didn't get all the way through the other day. Paul Fritschner here, right here at the desk, taking you through this Monday morning. Casey McAllister and Reed Mouse over there. We had Reed down in Nashville this weekend, and we had Casey McAllister doing something downtown at his bachelor party. Which
he was somewhere else.
He was somewhere else. I'm not sure if Casey was totally at the Banks this weekend. I saw him there, but I don't know if he knows he was there.
Physically was there, right? You were physically stated in the Banks, but the mind was somewhere else.
Yeah, probably by like the fifth bar, I was just gone. I was gone. I had left, and there was just no coming back until the next morning. So
you know what I had? So I'm in Nashville working an event, and I had FOMO. I had fear of missing out. So I'm texting Paul left and right. I'm seeing Sir Boy's tweets about how the party's going and everything like that, and I was missing out. I was genuinely a little upset that I couldn't be there on Casey's bachelor party. It looked like you guys had a blast. It looked like the town was not red before you guys got down there. Then you painted it red, which is the whole point of a bachelor party. You guys painted the town red.
yes, we did, literally and physically, because Sir Boy came in all of his Reds gear. Everyone came in Reds gear. It was pretty good.
Did anyone puke?
Casey? I puked when we were driving home. Home.
Man.
Did you have to stop?
No, I didn't stop. Are you kidding?
Just kept it rolling.
You did it in the car? Did you Uber?
No, I puked outside the window, and
you were like the pig.
I love how he is literally like just down. He's like, I just like put my head out the window and did it. No, we didn't stop. Are you kidding me? Casey, that's not. You normally stop.
Wait. Was this like the Geico commercial with the pig that like is leaning out with the pinwheel and leaning out the window, and you're just wee, and you're just spewing out the window?
Yeah. We can't stop for that. Are you kidding?
We can't.
We gotta go.
No.
We gotta go straight home.
Can't stop.
Well, hang on. As soon as we made it home, I had my hose already hooked up and ready to go. So just nice little spray off the car. If any of it.
You had your what?
Spray it off the car.
He's downplaying this so modestly. Like he's awesome.
Guys, what's the problem here? No harm, no foul. You just spray it right off.
All right. I don't want to totally spoil all of the bachelor party content because we're going to have Tracy Jones on the show tomorrow. Tom will be back tomorrow. Tom, this was a scheduled day for Tom. We knew Tom was not going to be here today for a long time because of graduation stuff still. So as far as we know, today is the last day that Tom is not in for a while. So we are here filling in with all of you. So bear with us here for the 2 hours. It's going to be fun. We got a lot coming up. What's going on, Reed? I can tell you're –
Before we get into this show, can we get a round of applause for Paul? Round of applause.
Congrats,
Big
Paul.
League Paul.
Big League
Paul.
Paul.
Big league engagement. Me and Casey are mildly upset that you hid it from us for so long. We understand why you kept it close to the vest, but we're happy for you. Big League Paul. Good job, Paul.
So my plan, I texted you guys this. My plan was to tell you guys, not Nutcutter Nation. I wanted Nutcutter Nation to be surprised, but my plan was to tell you guys on Friday afternoon. I didn't want it to be something that we had to dance around for a month on the show, and then if anything slipped up, didn't need to risk that. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to do it on a Friday night. I'll do it after Friday's show. I'll tell Tom and Reed and Casey and everybody. And then Reed had to go to Nashville. Trace and Sean were out working on something else. So it was only Casey and I sitting here in the office on Friday afternoon, and I said, you know what? I've kept this a secret for like 4 months, 5 months. what's another 5 hours and everybody can be surprised? So I sent everybody a text, and yeah, it was a great night. I was panicked about the weather all week long, And it worked out. It was great. No rain, overcast, great for pictures. It was good. It was a lot of fun. It all worked out. But again, I'm sure Tom and I don't know if Tracy knows. I don't know how Tracy
He'd probably
would know.
disagree with that decision.
What decision?
To get married.
Just in general. The premise of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how Tracy would know unless maybe Tom told him, but it's not like he's on Twitter. I shouldn't say Tracy's not on Twitter. Tracy probably has a Twitter. He's probably lurking around. All right, let's get into Matt McClain here before we get to Charlie Goldsmith at 10:15. Again, a lot to get into today, but the biggest news of this morning is Matt McClain getting promoted to the Reds. It leaked out last night, was on Instagram, and then all of a sudden Chatterbox Reds was blowing up. I saw they had over 100 people watching at one point on the show last night for a good portion of the show. They were in the triple digits. They had Bryce Spalding on, Nick Kirby, Trace Bowler. You can go back and watch that right here on the Chatterbox Sports YouTube page. But Matt McClain finally gets the promotion, and it's well-deserved because he's somebody that has just absolutely been tearing it up down at AAA. Reed, you said you had his numbers for us from AAA down in Louisville.
Yeah, 38 games, 173 plate appearances. He was hitting 348, getting on base 474, and was slugging 710, 12 home runs, 40 RBIs. Those are similar to your nickname, Big League Paul. Those are big league numbers from Matt McClain.
Oh, they absolutely are, and I think the biggest thing for the Reds has been, when are they going to call these guys up? You look at McClain, Abbott. I don't need to go through all of them. CES, Ellie De La Cruz. How much longer were we going to put things off? How much longer were the Reds going to go where they're just kind of in no man's land before they eventually call the big guns up to the big leagues? But this goes back to the question that I had for everybody last week. I hosted last week on Monday, and I came in here and I put in the monologue and I asked, at what point are we going to start tingling about the Reds? At what point are we going to start to think, maybe we have a little fun here? Nick Kirby tweeted that the other day. He said, I went into this season expecting this to be a developmental season and expecting this to be a season where we just got the prospects up to the big leagues, got some wins under their belt, and then went for it in 2024. But now all of a sudden, you're looking at the Major League standings, you're looking at the NL Central standings, you're looking at the AAA standings, and you're thinking to yourself, hold on a second. The Louisville Bats are one of the most exciting teams in baseball. The Cincinnati Reds are winning. They're winning games. 2 out of 3 this weekend. And oh, by the way, the 2 that they won Friday night, which was great. We had just walked into the engagement party, and Jake Fraley hit a home run, and it was electric. It was great. We had it on TV. It's great. Exciting night on Friday night. Saturday, win again. Sunday, again, a clunker. But at what point are we going to start to think, maybe this thing's got some legs? Maybe this thing has some legs. Read the Cubbies. Objects in mirror closer than they appear.
One game difference between the Cubs and the Reds. Listen, the Reds are doing something. It's not rocket science on how to succeed in this league. You win series, you win 2 out of 3 every week. You put yourself in a really good position to be a great ball team, and that's what the Reds have done over their last 6 series. They've won 4 of their last 6. You're looking at the sweep against the Rangers, taking 2 of 3 against the Athletics. They then have won their last 2 series against the Mets and the Marlins. They're just playing really good baseball. While the rest of the division is floundering, the Reds just quietly climbing up. And, they're 4 games under 500, 5 games back of the division. This is just the jolt that the Reds need. And we're going to start seeing those red seats at Great American Ballpark. I mean, they're not going to sell out. Let's not get crazy here. But if they keep winning, the 10,000 people turns into 12,000 people and then turns into 14. And next thing you know, we're in the middle of June and there's 20,000 people showing up at Great American Ballpark on a Tuesday evening.
The Reds right now are 18-22. As you said, Reed, they're 5 games back in the NL Central. Chicago Cubs, 19-21, 4 games back. Pittsburgh, they're sliding. We knew it was going to happen at some point. We knew this wasn't going to be sustained the entire time, and it's happened in the last 2 weeks. They're 2-8 in their last 10 games. All of a sudden, you look down, they're a game and a half back in Milwaukee. Brewers 23-17. They lead the division, and for some reason, we don't know why, but the St. Louis Cardinals at 16-25, 7.5 games back of first place. 7.5 games.
Could you ever imagine the Steelers being like 4-13 or something like that? Because that's what the Cardinals are.
That's basically what's going on right now.
It's incredible, and I'm happy about it. Makes me happy. Makes us both happy, Reds fans and Cubs fans alike, that the Cardinals are just terrible.
Their run differential, their record at home is 6-13 in St. Louis. Joined now by somebody that I without a doubt think is the hardest working man in Cincinnati sports, and somebody that we have not had on the show yet, and I am very happy to have on this show, who broke the Matt McClain news on Twitter last night and had him right here on the show this morning. It's Charlie Goldsmith from the Cincinnati Enquirer. Charlie, thanks so much for waking up and coming on the show here this morning to talk about Matt McClain, the Reds, and everything else. How are you? How's everything going?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, great. So let's get right into it, Charlie. And I do at the very end want to ask you maybe one or two Bengals questions, but right now it's all about the Reds. Just can you walk us through what you know about this promotion, how this kind of came to be, any of the decision-making? Just fill the people in on where we're at with Matt McClain.
I think this process started in spring training where Matt McClain looked pretty much as close to being big league ready as someone who is 23 with no AAA experience could possibly look. He wasn't quite in consideration then, but he was certainly on the radar. Then he goes to AAA and he keeps crushing it. And I heard Matt McClain's name tossed around, beginning in late April as a guy who people kept saying he's close, he's looking ready, he's getting closer and closer to being ready for the show. And they wanted to see him get more starts. You rarely see guys with as little experience as Matt McClain get to the big leagues. They wanted to make sure this wasn't just a hot streak. They wanted to make sure this was who Matt McClain was. He really didn't have anything left to work on. I was about to, start saying over the course of this week that if they weren't calling him up pretty much right now, what were they waiting for? And I guess they were saying the same thing as they made this move over the weekend.
So do you think from the way that Matt McClain had been playing in AAA and now to getting the promotion to the bigs, it was just a matter of time, right? They were just maybe waiting to pick their spot. But a lot of people had thought maybe they were going to wait till the end of the week, get the Yankees in town, do it as a home promotion. When you're in the minor leagues play a week-long series. They go out of town for a week or they're home for a week, whatever it might be. A lot of times you see these big prospect promotions on a Monday. This is not, at least to me, surprising at all that they're doing this on a Monday. Did you feel like the timing was right for this, Charlie?
Yeah, if he's ready, what are you waiting for? The Reds are, 5 games back right now? And, no offense to Jose Barrero and Kevin Newman, but shortstop's probably been the weakness of the team. That major league need wasn't why they called McClain up, but it certainly helps. And again, he just completely earned this opportunity by being one of the best players in minor league baseball. The number one tool or trait he has probably are his feel, his comfort level, the way he just looks like a vet. He even looked like a vet in spring training, when he was the young prospect going up in drills against some guys who had been in the league for a decade. So this was a few weeks in the making, and he had nothing left to prove. So they're like, all right, let's get him to the show.
You teased it there a little bit, and most of our viewers here, pretty much everybody, I would say, probably has a pretty good idea of what they are getting out of Matt McClain. But just briefly, can you walk us through somebody that's listening to this show for the first time or is watching this show for the first time, just an overall view of what the Reds at the major league level are getting out of Matt McClain?
So first and probably most importantly, this is a guy who, he's a baseball star. His 2 younger brothers are baseball coming up through the works. He was a starter as a freshman at UCLA. He was a star on some great LA teams. He was a round pick. He was a top 100 prospect. This guy has, as much pedigree as a shortstop could have coming up. The most underrated part about his game is his power. He has a very smooth swing. You can't beat him in the strike zone. He is on top of fastballs. It is quick, lightning bat speed. And then when he connects, he explodes on the ball. He hits home runs. He's the best power hitter on there. The Reds are counting on that to be out of their lineup pretty soon.
Charlie, I think the biggest thing for the Reds right now that a lot of people maybe weren't expecting was the fact that right now, I don't know if you heard me before we came on, but your Reds are 18-22, right? They're 5 games out of first. And coming into the season, it was, I think a lot of people would have said, rightfully so, let's learn how to win. Let's get some wins under the belt. Let's develop these prospects. Let's get the big guys to the major league level. But now, are you starting to think to yourself, maybe the Reds just kind of kick things around here and have some fun and win some games and keep this thing interesting for the next couple of months?
I do think these are two separate conversations. Like, calling up Matt McLain is not a win now move. It is a Matt McLain is ready move. I don't think until like the summer you'd see them push a guy quicker than you'd think to the majors just to fill an immediate need. These prospects are their path and their plan to be a legitimate contender more than, just competing for a 500 record this season. They believe that, along with the young core they have in the big leagues, Friedel, India, Steer, Stevenson, the young pitchers, they see Strand, De La Cruz, obviously McLain, who's up now, Abbott. They see these as the guys who are going to be the key pieces of the next really good Reds team. And they're not going to hinder that development process just by calling them up too soon. I don't think, the McLain move is a sign that they're going to start having this huge wave of promotions, though I do think we could see Andrew Abbott sooner rather than later. They're going to do what's best for the development of these prospects. But the thing is, too, they do have a bunch of guys playing really well in AAA, showing they just need more time, just kind of like McLain did, before they're ready to be starters on the Reds.
You mentioned defensively how badly the Reds have needed a consistent shortstop and how badly they need that defensive stability. So what do you think this adds at the major league level to a team that is really trying to solidify themselves and what they look like out in the field, not just at the plate?
I would say McLain's hitting is his biggest tool. His feel for the game really, though, does carry a lot of weight at shortstop. Like, we talk about shortstops being like the captain of the defense and all that kind of stuff. And there's really something legitimately to that. That was probably Kyle Farmer's biggest strength. And, the Reds didn't have the most talented personnel on defense last year. They were playing better defense. It helped a guy like Farmer was helping organize just everything going on. And I think McLain has some of that to him. He's a natural athlete. I think his arm's underrated. There are a lot of people who think he probably will end up at second base long term. I think he can be a shortstop. I know the Reds think he can be a shortstop. So he's not, he doesn't have the tools of an Elly De La Cruz. I think Elly probably is the most gifted shortstop defensively in the Reds organization right now. He can just do things McLain can't with his athleticism. But McLain is a good athlete. He's a steady player. He has some more athleticism than what the Reds were getting. And I think overall it will be an upgrade defensively over what the Reds had.
You mentioned second base. What's the end game here, Charlie, for Jonathan India? Does he go to the outfield? Does he move around? What do you think the end game is?
That's a day-to-day thing. India, I really mean this. No one's working harder pregame during, warm-ups and all that stuff going on than India is working at second base. He literally takes more ground balls than anyone on the Reds. I think he's aware that he legitimately needs to improve defensively. There's no urgency right now at this very minute because, McLain can just play short and India can still play second. But when De La Cruz, Strand, Marte come up, there will be this log jam in the infield. In the long term, India knows he needs to improve defensively. Maybe he ends up at first, maybe he ends up at left. The only thing the Reds know right now is they're continuing to give him the opportunity to improve at second base. They see him putting in the work. If he doesn't, then you have that conversation when a guy like De La Cruz gets called up. But since that's not, the reality right now, they're giving India the chance to continue to develop and improve defensively.
Talking to Charlie Goldsmith, the Cincinnati Enquirer, at CharlieG_ on Twitter. Charlie, the Reds right now at the major league level, we talked about the prospects, Elly De La Cruz, Christian Encarnacion Strand, Matt McLain, Andrew Abbott, so much potential, so many guys that you feel like can really be the foundation of this team moving forward. But at the major league level, you're getting production out of guys that maybe you weren't expecting to get production out of, or at least to the fact that they're winning more games, I think, at this point now than people were maybe thinking they would. The Major League Reds, overall, what's your take on this team?
This year was about identifying pieces of the young core. And I think the Reds have more confidence now than, they had confidence, but more confidence now than they did at the beginning of the season, that particularly Steer, Friedel and Fraley are going to be real long-term pieces for them. They're not going to be, the cornerstones that a De La Cruz or an India or Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo will be. But they have seen continual improvement, development. They've liked the way each of them has responded to like different adversity and different slumps and different challenges that have come up over the course of the season. The Reds are still a very flawed team. I literally don't know who their fourth and fifth starters are right now. They play bad defense. They don't hit for power. That is a very thin margin for error to walk when you're trying to be a competitive team. And that's why I'm not, predicting the Reds are going to finish over 500 right now. But I do think, when you look at what the assignment was for the 2023 season, they are getting the steps that you wanted to see at the big league level when you look at the guys who have really become a part of that young core, and then the growth guys like, Jonathan India, big bounce back year, Graham Ashcraft, just a massive step he's taken this year, Alexis Diaz taking another step. I do feel like, when they talk about a long-term plan, they are kind of on that line right now of upward trajectory.
I'm glad you brought up Alexis Diaz because the other night there was that whole scene with him wanting to stay in the game and then eventually staying in the game, finishing that game out. Is there anything more, Charlie, you can take to that? And you did some great reporting on that on Twitter. Is there anything more you can take from that just at a macro level, not just the one specific situation, but at a macro level of what that says about the competitiveness of Alexis Diaz and this team and wanting to win right now?
There was a great quote that Jake Fraley had in a conversation I had with him. He said that exact example. He says that's a culture win. That's the X factor. That's the closeness that the Reds have really prioritized more than they have in previous years in establishing those relationships. They've talked about that since the first day of spring training. Fraley drew a straight line from that priority to Diaz stepping up, giving it everything he had, wanting to stay in, going not just the extra mile, but the extra 2 miles, doing something I've never seen a closer do before, pitching that much, 40 pitches the day after he got a really impressive save as well. The way he wanted to go above and beyond for his teammates, like, we can scoff at that. We can say, what's that going to get you in the long run? But they really see a sign of, the progress and the identity that they like to use the word gritty. They see examples of all of that. And Alexis stepping up the way he did and responding to the big challenge he faced when he was exhausted. The Reds really do see that as kind of what they're trying to be.
Talking with Charlie Goldsmith at Cincinnati Enquirer. Charlie, got a couple more minutes with you before I let you go. I want to switch gears over to the Bengals. And one of the best parts of following you on Twitter, Charlie, is when I can tell you're either at a Bengals game and some Reds news pops up, or you're at a Reds game and some Bengals news happens, and you go over to your Excel sheet and you're starting to tweet out the Bengals news. And I'm thinking to myself, how in the world is this guy compartmentalizing which sport he is covering when? I don't know what you get paid, but it's not enough. Seriously, everybody that follows you in Cincinnati sports appreciates what you're doing. So I want you first to just step back and look at the two teams that you cover. Just tell the people how you filter what you need to say and report on, because it is a hilarious time sometimes seeing what you put out.
I'll tell you what the hardest thing was when the Bengals had Jesse Bates and the Reds had Jesse Winker. One of them Jesse with an I-E, one of them Jesse with an E. That drove me crazy every single day for a year, making sure I had 2-star Pro Bowl All-Star players, names spelled correctly every time. I do like it though. It's very different, just atmospheres. Very different sports. It's very different covering baseball than it is covering football. Just with the schedule, with the different dynamics of the team, with the personnel. Obviously, the Reds and the Bengals are at different stages of their overall, team windows right now. I love it. I love covering both teams. I love those differences and how that leads to different types of stories that you get to tell, and it's a lot of fun.
All right, so this is a question that I have liked to ask pretty much everybody that comes on, and we haven't gotten your take on it. I asked Richard Skinner, who came on our show for the first time last week. You haven't been on, so we'll get your take. What's the state of the union of the Cincinnati Bengals right now?
I mean, they accomplished it's funny. I was going to say they accomplished what they were looking for this offseason, but when they came up with their plans and their goals, Orlando Brown Jr. certainly wasn't in that. When you look at the big picture, really the only thing that matters for the Bengals this offseason is that they lost last year to the Steelers, the Cowboys, the Browns, and then in the playoffs to the Chiefs. They lost all of those games for one reason: the offensive line. They added one of the best left tackles in football. They're wanting to move Jonah Williams to right tackle, which will give them an upgrade there. Cordell Volson will have another year of experience. Their offensive line has become a strength. And, we can talk about what Miles Murphy does and how that helps. We can talk about tight end. We can talk about the new look secondary and how they're piecing that stuff together. But they have Burrow, Chase, and Higgins, and they address their biggest weakness. Nothing else matters. Like, that's a formula to be a top tier Super Bowl contender for as long as the Bengals are in the Joe Burrow business.
I think it was you that tweeted this out, and you pointed out when you were looking at your schedule takeaways when the schedule got announced on Thursday night, and you looked at the first 4 games of the season, and you're looking at the Browns, the Ravens, the Rams, and the Titans. I believe that's the first 4 games. Mm-hmm. You're looking at that, and you're looking at some of the pass rushers that they're going to have to face versus the offensive line that the Bengals have tried to build. But, yeah, obviously have some injuries that are still lingering, and who's going to be healthy, who's still going to be on that line by the time those first 4 games roll around. How do you see that lining up now that we know how everything is going to play out in the fall?
So you have a few choices at right tackle. You can, and I think what they want to do is move Jonah Williams to right tackle and, not honor that trade request, which it sounds like the Bengals and Jonah Williams are both going in that direction. You could see where La'el Collins is. You could go with Jackson Carman, or you can go with Cody Ford. And those last 3 options really sound not ideal at all when you're looking at needing immediate production against, the Browns just traded for another Pro Bowl pass rusher. The Rams have Aaron Donald. The Titans have Jeffrey Simmons. The Ravens have just a classic front that's been giving teams trouble for the last, in their entire existence. Collins, where is he going to be? He struggled so much early last season because he didn't have any time in training camp. He wasn't ready, and you don't want to repeat that again this season. Cody Ford has played more guard than tackle. You don't want him to be going through that adjustment while the Bengals are playing these teams with this urgency to protect early on. And same with Jackson Carman. I don't think I've ever even seen him take a practice rep at right tackle. You can't have that ironing out process be during, every game is going to be important for a team that can't lose more than 4 or 5 games to get their goals in the regular season done. And with the lines they're facing, I think it makes it even more valuable to have a guy who has done it, a guy who knows what he's doing, a guy who you can trust from a health standpoint. In Jonah Williams, that's even more important now early in the season.
All right, so last question for you very quickly because I know you have to go. Just looking at the schedule overall, did you like how it shaped? We knew the opponents, obviously, but just at the way that the schedule lined up, you're looking at the 4 primetime games, the way everything lined up. You think it's favorable, not favorable? What's your take on it?
Yeah, the one thing that's not favorable is on the road at Baltimore Thursday Night Football. Probably their toughest task of the year, even tougher than the Chiefs game because they'll have a longer week than the Chiefs heading into that game. The Chiefs are coming off a short week that week. But overall, this might have been the least consequential schedule release in Bengals history. It used to be the primetime games were something, you'd have concerns about with the Bengals because of their track record in them. That's not a thing anymore. They're going to end up with more than 4 primetime games, so that wasn't even a big question. Coming out of last week's schedule release, that part of the schedule will change. They have, pretty much confidence that they're going to win just about every game. So the order, they went through the unbelievable gauntlet in the second half last year. A tough run or stretch of the schedule is something they've proven they can handle. So, no big questions other than maybe a little bit of a disadvantage for that Ravens game. But other than that, this is what life is like when you're one of the best teams in football.
Charlie, I just want to say that there has been a lot of debate in our YouTube chat along the side here for the last probably 2 weeks. Have the Bengals gotten better? Where are they at? And you saying that the Bengals have improved and gotten better has lit a fire in everybody that is watching the show right now, and they appreciate you. They love what you bring to the table. I appreciate you too, and hopefully sometime down the line you can come back on. Thanks so much for taking a few minutes this morning.
Thanks, Paul.
All right. See you, Charlie. So there's the answer that we were looking for on if the Bengals have gotten better, which we all knew they had, but it was stated by somebody not in this room, somebody from outside of the organization, and the people are all over it.
It validated a lot of things, right? We keep hearing this question. The normal host always asks, are the Bengals better? And then Everett Henry just loses his mind, and shortly after, Sir Boy Wonder. But man, oh man, wasn't that great to hear some validation in what we all know to be true, that the Bengals are better.
Yeah, the question's honestly just tired at this point.
It's
just tired.
I didn't even ask the question. He volunteered it.
Yeah.
He volunteered it.
Because he knows.
knows.
It just came on out.
He knows. I thought that was interesting hearing from both sides. Again, Charlie's somebody that I asked the question, but honest to God, he'll be in the Reds press box. It'll be the 4th inning of a game. And all of a sudden, I'll be on Twitter and I'll see him tweeting out an Excel sheet of the offensive line depth chart for the Bengals. And I'm thinking to myself, it's the middle of June, Charlie. How do you organize these things? How do you keep everything straight? But he's a true professional. That's why we had him on the show this morning. And he brings to the table one, Matt McClain, who obviously is going to bring everything that the Reds need to the table right now, at least at the plate. Defensively, I thought that was interesting what he said defensively and what the Reds are going to have to do in the field, and that the patience that the Reds are showing right now to bring these guys up through, to not rush up an Ellie De La Cruz or rush up a Christian Encarnacion Strand or an Andrew Abbott. And he mentioned casually in there that maybe Abbott would be the next one of that group to come up, not a CES or not an Ellie De La Cruz, which I don't think I was expecting Ellie De La Cruz to be the next one up. I think Ellie De La Cruz probably does need a little bit more time, not in the sense of the production. I think it's sustained production that you want to see out of Ellie De La Cruz, because if you're on Twitter, if you're following the Louisville Bats, if you're seeing anything that he's doing right now, he had a home run the other day. I couldn't understand why the Bats had tweeted it out, because it was a pop fly to left field. And before the camera cut to the play-by-play camera to find the ball, you could see Ellie out of the box. He didn't slam his bat, but he was frustrated, and he threw his head down and he shook his head, and he started a slow trot to first, thinking it was going to be a fly out to left, and ended up 10 seats deep in the left field stands. And that's just what you're getting out of him. I also saw, I can't remember who it was last night, tweeted out. I don't know if it was Nick Kirby or who it was that tweeted this out, but somebody tweeted a stat from the velocity from third base. Somebody made a throw from, I believe, short or third, the left side of the infield. It was 92 miles an hour last night to throw somebody out. It was at a major league level.
Yeah.
Ellie De La Cruz has 2 or 3 at...
It was the hardest throw, right? I think it was the Diamondbacks?
Yeah, the Diamondbacks. Hardest throw in their StatCast history. I should have bookmarked the tweet. This is great radio. But I did see the video, and it was, I believe, the fastest throw in StatCast history. And Ellie De La Cruz has 2 or 3 throws from the left side of the diamond from third base faster than that.
It's a stud. He's a guy.
He's very good. Casey, any takeaways? We still have to get to, we've covered Matt McClain. We have plenty more Matt McClain coverage down in the chat, in Chatterbox Reds. If you want to go back and watch any of that from last night, you can see Nick Kirby, Trace Fowler, Bryce Spalding. They all have you covered there. We've covered Matt McClain. We've covered that promotion. We are going to talk a little bit more about the Reds, and especially going into this week, going to Colorado. The first game at 8:40 tonight. That is Hunter Green on the mound for the Reds. Another game at 8:40 tomorrow before an afternoon game on Getaway Day on Wednesday. Then a day off Thursday. Yankees come to town on Friday. Casey, any thoughts overall on what Charlie said about the Bengals, your Cincinnati Bengals?
Well, I mean, I think, we covered it. Like, is this team better than they were before? The question's just tired, because the answer is yes. It's a resounding yes. I mean, you shore up your biggest weaknesses, which were the offensive line, the reasons why they lost practically every game that really mattered. And, I am the first one to say that I'm out on Jonah Williams. But the idea that we didn't improve anyways, like we went out and got Orlando Brown Jr., and the fact that we have other options there that, could easily supplement the player that is Jonah Williams. And maybe this is a contract year for him, and players play harder on their contract year. That's just the stat that just seems to always define some of these guys in the NFL. They just usually play better on their contract season. So, I don't know, man. I'm really looking forward to the Bengals on offense. I know there's some worries on defense, but like we've said before, in Lou Anarumo, we trust.
King Lou.
He's going to figure it out.
You're not going to hear any bad things said over on this desk over here. This is a Homer show, true and true. But listen, here's the thing about the Bengals, and I've mentioned this before. what have they lost compared to what have they gained? They lost a backup running back. They lost Joe Burrow's 4th target. And admittedly, they lost their starting safeties.
Yeah.
Behind that, they've gained the best tackle in free agency. They gained another presence on the defensive line. They've added to the secondary in a slew of athletic cornerbacks. And they brought in a running back to replace the backup. And they brought in a tight end to replace Hayden Hurst.
Yeah,
It's a silly argument.
Yeah, I think the argument that we didn't do enough is silly because it's silly. It
Super
really is
silly.
because I think even when you look at the safeties, I mean, we're really high on Jordan Battle. I think Nick Scott is, serviceable as a starter.
We've got
I think
we've got what, a 2nd-round draft pick from this year, Battle, right? Or was he a 3rd?
He's a 3rd round, but
Okay,
they were
Dax Hill last year and Nick Scott.
Yeah, they graded Jordan as a 2nd-round guy.
Think about how
Dak was a high 1st-round pick on their grade. So I trust the system that they are going. I trust the approach that they're going with this. They've done enough to replace those guys.
Think about how good the Bengals would have been if they would have drafted DeJuan Jones.
Oh my God.
Just think about how good they'd be.
Oh, unbelievable.
All right, Paul, let me ask you a question. As we just keep hopscotching our way through the 2 major Cincinnati sports teams.
Yes.
Yankees come to town this weekend.
Yes.
Matt McClain's first homestand.
Yes.
Guess the attendance Friday night.
I think Friday night there's going to be a lot of people there. If Matt McClain hits a home run in this Colorado series, which he's liable to do given where they're playing in Colorado,
Right.
if he was to hit a home run, say Wednesday afternoon, and the Reds win, I legitimately think maybe this is overreacting to one singular game in a major league season, but I think if the Reds were to win on Wednesday and Matt McClain hit a home run in that game, I think that boosts attendance by a non-zero, a significant number. Seriously. I truly do think that the Yankees coming into town, which is going to be cool. I really like how the major leagues, how MLB is doing this now with playing everybody, and you're going to get to see some teams come in that you haven't seen in a long time. You're going to regularly get to see the Yankees, the Red Sox, these big brands from the American League that you don't get to see a lot. When was the last time the Yankees were in town?
It's been a couple of years. They normally
It's
about every 3 years.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
It happens every. So you normally play a division, right?
Yeah,
you play a division. That's your interleague play.
But it was pre-COVID, probably.
So 2019 would probably be the last time that they played. Maybe 2021. If I capped it at 22,500 for Friday night's game, Yankees, Matt McClain's home opener, what are you saying?
Butts and seats or announced attendance?
Announced attendance.
Over.
Okay.
Over.
Butts and seats.
Maybe under.
Well, I do know this, that there's probably going to be at least 8 people that I know for sure that are going, right?
Us?
Oh,
Us?
are we going?
We should. Why not?
I've got plans.
Oh.
The whole series?
This is, I don't Sunday.
Sunday?
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 Paul, can we get you out on a Sunday?
Sunday I cannot. Sunday I can't. I can't go Saturday and Sunday. The only game that I would be able to go to is Friday. Also, PB's Ghost is asking what the shirt is. It's a golf polo, TPC Sawgrass. I've not played there, but I was on vacation down there. Got the polo. It's just little golf shields, little golf clubs. It's little shields all over the place.
You know what we didn't talk about?
What?
The City Connect jerseys.
Oh,
We haven't
good
even
call.
touched
We didn't
that
talk
yet.
about that.
Reed's
Reed's wearing it right now.
Yeah.
Look
Look
at
at that.
Look at it. Chatterbox's City Connect Bolo.
Do you want to pull it up?
Yeah, I'll pull it up
So
here in
pull
a
them up
second.
and we can show them if anybody didn't see him. So the overall concept, which I thought was kind of funny that everybody was talking about this, the City connecting to the city. Mm-hmm. Where's the connection? I think the jerseys are great. I love them. But I didn't really see how they connect to the city, which I'm not. I don't really care. That's fine. But where's the city connect on these?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to knock them. I want to make that very clear. I'm not I'm not throwing these under the bus, anything. I love these jerseys.
We are incredibly unprepared for talking about what the connection is, but I do know that there's something with the socks, right? And there's something behind the jersey too. I just know that there's not like a lot
Does
that you
anyone
can
in the
see.
chat? Yeah. Just put in the chat if you guys know what the connection is, because I don't see it either.
I don't know. I mean, there's no skyline on it. I'm not talking skyline chili. I'm talking city skyline. There's no skyline. There's no I don't know.
Riverboat. There's no Queen City. There's
Yeah.
no pork manufacturing.
Well, like a lot of it apparently is like hidden details. It's not like blasted in your face, right? Which personally, I like the little hidden Easter eggs that they put on anything. I'm all about Easter eggs, but the jerseys are slick, and I love the C. It's grown on me more and more. At first, I wasn't too big of a fan of it, but the more I just look at it and see the jerseys and how they look, God.
So those are going to be worn, every Friday, I believe?
Every Friday home game the rest of the season.
So the first time that you'll see them at home is this Friday.
Yes.
Against the Yankees. Put a couple more butts in the seats. Put a couple more butts in those seats.
And it's fireworks too, right? I mean,
Fireworks. I
there's
think
so much to this.
Are we going to get a sellout? 60,000. They're going to standing room 15,000 people in the grandstand.
Are we gonna see 45,000 people at Great American Ballpark on Friday night? No. The answer to that question is no, but we will see over 20,000. I'll tell you that.
Yes, we will.
I think, honestly, even maybe I shouldn't say this.
Ooh, spicy.
I was gonna say even when the Reds are really terrible, you could still be liable to get over 20,000 on a Friday night. But the other thing is too, there's no FC Cincinnati game on Friday. Friday, I think, is the most attended game of the weekend.
Yeah, Saturday is the Hell is Real game.
Saturday is Hell is Real, so
Match.
25,000 plus will be over at TQL Stadium. Sunday, series finale. Sometimes Sunday attendance is tough. Friday and Saturday on the weekends are your big nights. Friday this weekend, Fireworks Friday, Yankees in town, City Connect jerseys, Matt McClain's debut. You'll get over 21.5.
I think Kirby brings up a good point. He said, I think you guys are underselling Yankees fans. I truly do think that the Yankees will bring out thousands of people.
Yeah.
Like thousands of people.
Yeah.
Like I think even if Matt McClain was making his debut against maybe not the Marlins, but a division team like the Brewers or something like that, there'd still be right around 20,000 people. So I think we're going to go over the 22.5 or whatever I capped it at, just because I think the Yankees fans are going to come out. And on top of that, Sir Boy Wonder's certainly going to come out because he's got to go watch his boy Anthony Rizzo play.
Good point. Yeah, Sir Boy Wonder did end up down at the bachelor party for Casey on Saturday night, and he said that he was going to be at this game on Friday, I think.
Yes, I do think he is.
All right, so I'm looking at tickets right now on TickPick. Make that very clear. TickPick. Fees included. I see get in around $35. That's a lot for a Reds game.
Kirby is saying that he talked to someone in the front office, and they are expecting close to sellouts all weekend long.
Wow, really? I mean, that's
impressive.
great. Maybe I'll go down Friday night. Don't know yet. I don't know 100% yet if I can.
You guys should go.
I know Friday night is the one night that if I can go, that's the one night that I can. But I'm gonna have to check and see.
I will say that I don't know if it'll be all weekend because Hell is Real is this Saturday. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So
yeah, seriously, if they're going to sell out, you're telling me that there's going to be 60,000 fans going to sporting events on Saturday in Cincinnati? 25 plus 40? Yeah, no way. No way they'll sell out on Saturday.
Of course, Hell is Real happens on the same weekend that the Yankees are in town. What do you think?
Not great.
I don't know which schedule came out first. Probably the Reds came out first because that would have been last summer. My guess would be that you see that and then you see the Hell is Real come up at the same time, and both front offices are just rolling their eyes.
I truly think that FCC realizes they're going to sell out regardless.
Yeah.
So they probably don't care too much.
I don't know how much overlap there is between the two fan bases.
Right.
I really don't. And I know a lot of people want to make it out to seem like there's a ton of, we got the two professional franchise. I really do think they are two separate fan bases. They are two very distinct crowds. Now, yes, I mean, if it's a Saturday night, maybe there's 1,000 or 2,000 people that it's a nice night. They want, like me a couple of weekends ago, but that was because I had a free ticket to FC. If I had to pay for one, if I had to spend $20 on one, I probably would have gone to the Reds. I'm more of a baseball guy, but I just,
are FC tickets $20? Because every time I look, they're way over that.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if I'm going to spend what I'm going to spend on a game, I'm going to probably go to the Reds game. But also, there are fewer FC games. That factors into it too. But I really don't think that there's all that much of an overlapping crowd that's going to just completely take away from any kind of Reds attendance.
So Nick keeps telling us that we're underselling the fans. I want to just hear his opinion. Do you think it's going to be a majority Yankees fans then at the Reds Stadium? Is that what we're getting at?
At least half will be Yankees fans.
Yankees fans are crazy, Casey.
Casey, the Yankees are the most valuable franchise in North America in the third most valuable sport.
Oh, no, I totally get that. I understand that they're like the Dallas Cowboys. I get it. But bigger. Yeah, you're right. They are bigger. They're like the biggest. Are they
bigger than the Cowboys? Wait, did I get that wrong? It's them, the Knicks, and Cowboys, right? So, I don't know. Go on with your
Well, regardless. Yeah, so Nick just answered the question. Yes, there will be more Yankees fans there. That's a shame. I really hope that that's not the case. But the one thing I wanted to actually bring up that you already mentioned a little bit,
okay,
is this Reds team, like, is it getting legs? We were talking about this maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago. You and I, we were just saying, like, we're crawling. We're crawling. And now we're already at this point where we're talking about we're in the middle of May. When was the date that we said it was?
I said Memorial Day.
Memorial Day, which is what day? What week is that?
I think it's the last day of May. No, it's not the last day. It's not the last day of May this year. It's May 29th.
May 29th.
So we do not have a show May 29th. When we walk in on May 30th to do that show on Tuesday morning, my goal, this was preseason, right? We have it on the calendar. Monday, day off for Memorial Day. Tuesday, we come in. Are the Reds going to be worth talking about on that Tuesday?
100% at this rate. Unless they completely lose out from here until then.
But that's only 2 weeks. No, that was my point, though. I'm not saying I'm not asking that question now. I'm asking that was the preseason question are we going to walk into that Tuesday morning show after Memorial Day, and are the Reds still going to be worth talking about? And you're looking at the schedule here for the Reds in the next 2 weeks. You have the Rockies these next 3 days, day off, then the Yankees, but then the Cardinals and the Cubs.
The Cubs. That's going to be the big one for us here.
You split that series against the Cardinals at least, and then going to Chicago to play 3 games over Memorial Day weekend. This is not an overly challenging schedule for the Reds in the next 2 weeks to keep themselves right in it past Memorial Day, which sadly was the goal.
Yeah, I'm not that I'm trying to move the goalposts, but I am going to ask the question because I think we all agree Memorial Day is probably a safe bet that they're still relevant. What's the new goalpost, right?
July 4th.
What are the new expectations for this team that we're setting here?
July 4th.
July 4th?
Because you think about, look, the next 2 weeks for the Reds are very manageable. Tread water, at least. Maybe get back to 500. June, you start the first series with the Brewers. Then you have LA come to town. Then you got the Cardinals again. You're playing the Astros in there. You're playing the Braves. You're playing the Orioles, who are red hot.
2 things I want to bring up.
And the Padres to end the month.
One, what is it going to take for off the bench to make a trip up to the north side for Memorial Weekend to take Casey to Wrigley Field for the first time? Get him a real baseball experience. Not that sorry stuff they do at Great American Ballpark, but a real baseball experience when the Reds play the Cubs up there on Memorial Weekend. Secondly, we have wildly underestimated the Yankees draw here in Cincinnati. I pulled up that 2017 series against the Reds and Yankees at Great American Ballpark. Nope. I was wrong. This, according to 2017, was at Yankee Stadium. I was going to say they sold out that game, but it was at Yankee Stadium, so I'm gonna look again.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sure you're going to find some pretty good results regardless. But anyways.
I'm moving the goalposts to the 4th of July.
4th of July.
Do we come in here? Actually, I'll be out of town the 4th of July week. I have a wedding in New Jersey. Do I come back here my first show after the 4th of July? I don't know which show that will be. Let's just call it after the All-Star break. Let's call it let's just screw it.
So
Let's just call it the
All-Star
All-Star break. July 14th. That's the first game after the All-Star break. They start a massive homestand against the Brewers, the Giants, and the D-backs. They're in town from a Friday all the way through the following Sunday. They play every day at home. That is a huge, to me, the most important homestand of the season right there.
Okay. I got it.
All right, Reed.
May 9th, 2017.
Okay.
The Reds won 5-3 over the Yankees. 22,000 fans on that May 9th day. But it is May. But I guess this game
this is in May.
This is going to be in May. For the fun of it, can I run you through the starting lineups of the teams?
Let's do it.
All right. You want the Yankees or the Reds first?
Yankees first.
All right. Leading off, playing left field, Brett Gardner.
Okay.
In the 2-hole, behind the dish, Gary Sanchez. Batting third, playing second base, Starlin Castro. Out in center field, Jacoby Ellsbury. Aaron Judge is playing right field. Didi Gregorius is at shortstop. Chris Carter, remember Chris Carter is the first baseman.
The wideout for the Vikings.
And Ronald Torres starting at third base, batting in ninth. Or I guess he's batting eighth, because you know who was batting ninth and pitching that day? Big CC Sabathia.
Wow.
So that was 2017. Also hitting in that game was Matt Holliday, Chase Headley, and Aaron Hicks. They all pinched hit. For the Reds, playing in center field and batting leadoff, Billy Hamilton. At shortstop, Zach Cozart. First baseman's Joey Votto. Out in left field is the Duvall star, Adam Duvall. Eugenio Suarez is playing third base. He's batting fifth. Scott Schebler out in right field. Jose Peraza, the second baseman. Devin Mazzaraco behind the dish. And starting is a guy I don't even remember pitching for the Reds, Tim Adelman. Raziel Iglesias came in relief in that game. What a fun lineup. Just 6 years ago, that Yankees team was loaded.
That was 6 years ago. Do you know what's really
2017?
crazy to me is the turnover of some of these teams. Like,
Well, if you look at the
think
Bengals in 2017, they would look completely different than what they are now.
Yeah, I know, but like
Andy.
teams that are like really good usually stay connected for a long time.
Yeah, no doubt.
But like, there's only one player on that Reds roster that started that is still on the Reds today.
You want to talk about
After
continuity in the major leagues? Look back. It's tough that you wouldn't appreciate this, but Reed would. Go look back at like the 2018 Miami Marlins. Christian Yelich.
Talking Christian Yelich.
Mike
Giancarlo is 2017.
Mike Stanton.
No, he was Giancarlo at that time. He wasn't Mike. He was only Mike Stanton for like the first 2 years.
I still can't get that out of my head. I still think he's Mike.
Marcell Ozuna.
Yep.
JT Realmuto.
Yep.
D. Gordon. And then starting on the mound,
Jose Fernandez.
R.I.P. Jose Fernandez.
R.I.P.
It's literally if Jose Fernandez didn't pass away, they wouldn't have sold the team. They would have tried to compete for a long time. But because Jose, who was the linchpin of that roster, passed away, they just had to blow it up. Sad.
Man, to think of what that team could have been, and not to drive that home, but to think of what that Marlins team could have been had all of them really been able to stick together.
The Marlins have been a franchise for now 30 years. They've made the postseason 3 times. They made it in 2020. They swept the Cubs in that shortened year. And then the other 2 times they made it was 1997 and 2003. They won the World Series in both those years. So they are 3 for 30 on making the postseason and have won the World Series twice. Kind of crazy.
Let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. Casey, I saw you just fly it up on the screen a few seconds ago. Before we get to the Bengals, though, Take that off. We got to talk about the Bengals report.
Oh. Let me get it up. I can do Encore Technology.
Encore Technologies. They provide something. They provide IT solutions. Who do they provide it for, Reed?
Can I do the Pawnee read?
You can do the Pawnee read. I'll do the Encore one.
All right, I'll let you read.
Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing models to improve efficiency and
productivity.
Stole it from you. Visit Encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. Reed, take it away.
Well, honest question, Casey. When you were hungover after you puked all over your sedan, did you find a need to hydrate yourself? Because if you did it so with regular water, you were just undermining the whole system that is your body. You need to get some alkaline water because it's been proven to show superior hydration benefits. And no one does alkaline water better than Pawnee water right here in Hamilton, Ohio. They make it right across the street, and this stuff tastes great. It's the best tasting water out there. They use natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial filtration that all these other brands use. So here's a story. I'm driving down to Nashville. I get a bottle of water, alkaline water. Obviously, it was down in Kentucky. Pawnee water hasn't stretched that far. I immediately look at the ingredients, and what do they have? It has water and then all these salt components to make it alkaline water, and they add those for taste. You look at the Pawnee bottle right here. Ingredients. Only water. That's how good this stuff is. Natural limestone filtration right here in Hamilton, Ohio. You can find the best tasting water in the world at their website, pawneewater.com. That's PAHHNI water.com. You can see where you can find this stuff. If you live here in Butler County, you can find it at some of the local gas stations. Be sure to put in the Discord or send us a picture if you find a bottle of Pawnee water.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun little game of hide and seek.
That would, and I'm not even being funny about it. I actually did have a little Pawnee water.
Nice.
So, like.
Well, it's the superior hydration. There's nothing funny about that, Casey.
Yeah, it is. I wish I would have been in it enough to know that to take a picture of it, but
you wish you would have been with it enough.
Yeah.
To take some pictures.
Yeah.
Paul had to hydrate all day Friday. My man was sweating bullets at what he had to do in the afternoon, and the only thing that kept him hydrated through that stressful time was Pawnee water.
So I don't want to go through everything because I'm sure Tom's going to ask questions tomorrow to both Casey and I about this weekend. This weekend feels like it lasted 10 years. Friday afternoon, getting off the show feels like 100 years ago.
So did you have like what you were going to say when you got down on that knee?
I drove to Chatterbox Sports in silence for probably 3 straight weeks. Not one podcast, nothing, for 3 weeks.
Did you listen to The Sound of Silence by Simon and Garfunkel?
Better version by Disturbed. You ever heard that version?
Oh, yeah.
That's better. Guys,
That's much
come on.
better.
All right, move on. I can't hear it.
I know the Simon and Garfunkel version. That's the one I grew up on. But if you ever done the Disturbed version, that's elite. Anyway, so I'm listening. I'm in the car. I'm not listening to anything. Thinking through in my head what I'm going to say. No idea. No, totally blacked out. No clue. It was the first time, truly, I joke sometimes about this. First time in my life, truly, I was speechless. Had no clue what I was going to say. I thought for sure that I was going to be the one that was like under control and knew what I was doing and thinking and like.
Very much her.
She was like kind of like laughing, like nervously, like, oh my God, like this is. I thought she was going to be bawling her eyes out. She was so surprised. She had no idea. She was so surprised that she started like anxiously laughing. And then I go, okay, this is good. Like this is good. And then I just totally forgot what I was saying. No clue.
Same thing happened to me, Paul. Don't worry.
So I had when I proposed, I had a full like thing I was gonna say. I wrote it out. It was beautiful. And I get down on that knee and I realize, man, there's a lot of eyes on me at this very moment, and every second when I'm down on this knee feels like an eternity. So I start like regurgitating this short speech that I wrote, And Mariana looks at me and she goes, "What are you saying?" Yeah. The answer's yeah. And I'm just like, all right, here you go.
All right. No, that was the thing. So, well, the funniest part was that I had the Xavier basketball photographer took the picture, and it was a very natural thing the way it happened, that it wasn't out of the ordinary. He was standing there. He had been taking grad pics all week long, so he was there anyway. And it just basically was, we pulled up, and we were standing there talking. He goes, "Hey, by the way, you guys look nice right now. You want me to take a picture?" Obviously, that was all planned, but hey, do you want to take a picture? And so as we were standing there taking the picture, we took a couple of normal ones before I actually did it. And when I turned to start talking to her, she started to like pull away because she thought it was awkward that I was talking to her so nicely in front of the photographer. She was like, "This is really sweet, but like, can you do this later?" And I was like, no, like, I'm trying to do something right now. And then she very quickly like picked up on what was going on. But initially she started to like kind of back away a little bit and go, because obviously if that's not what I was doing, then it would have been because there were other people over to the side taking grad pics and stuff. People were still leaving campus from an event that night. But no, it was great. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Everything worked out.
Nice.
All right, let's do the Bengals schedule. We did not go through all of this yet. So let's get through it. Casey.
Yes.
Your overall take on this, because Friday's takes on it were a little jumbled. So let me get your thoughts on this and how it shook out.
Yeah, so for the first 6 weeks, I think, the Bengals have a easy stretch here, but the first 2 games are the most important games in the entire season. It's just, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They got to win these 2. Start off really hot. Start 2-0 in the division, and you have a foothold that will last you probably the whole rest of the season if you do go 2-0. I mean, they don't play another divisional game after week 2 until week 11. Yep. So, I mean, I think that's the most important. I will say dollar in the jar. Getting a bye week to prepare for the 49ers is a blessing in disguise, especially with a team that loves to game plan and attack your weaknesses. At least now we have an extra week to try to expose whatever the 49ers might try to do with us. I love the Week 9 Sunday Night Football game with the Bills. I thought maybe it would be a little earlier just because of the Damar Hamlin potentially coming back and playing. I thought maybe that they would want to make sure that he gets to play this game. However, Week 9, I like that game a lot. Sunday Night Football, that's going to be a lot of eyes on that one. And then they get a easy game with the Texans and then turn around and play the Ravens. And I did look this up, that the Ravens also play on that short week too. So both of us will have 4 days to prepare for each other. And that being at Baltimore, that's going to be a very important game, obviously. What really stinks is that we turn around and play the Steelers right after playing really hard against the Ravens. I'm not so sure. If you were to start giving them wins and losses here, I'm not sure if you can give them back-to-back wins against those 2 teams. I think that's a really tough and tall task to do. Underrated game of the whole season, I think, is the Jaguars Monday Night Football game. That's 2 number 1s going against each other. The last time they did that, it came down right to the end, right to the wire. I think that's a game that we can all appreciate and find very challenging for the Bengals. That's also a game that if we were going to go to an away game late in the season, that is the one that I think you and I both agreed it'd be fun to go down and just have a couple beers in the pool. Early December, just
that's
have a good
the away
old time.
game I picked.
Yeah, that's definitely the one I would pick too. And then after that, it's the Colts. They have a better roster than the Texans, but they're still kind of rebuilding. I'm not so sure if I believe in the Vikings anymore. They lost a lot of pieces this offseason, and I think they just trade away Zadarius Smith as well. So, I mean, that's really tough for me to really consider them a threat, especially when I know they can't stop us on offense. I don't really believe in their offense too much. And then we play Steelers, December 23rd, so they get Christmas Day off, and they can celebrate Christmas Eve. I like that for the Bengals. And then we go ahead and play the Chiefs, probably for the number 1 seed in the AFC. And hopefully by the time Week 18 rolls around, we're resting our guys. Hopefully. I hope that would be the case, but we'll see. And those are my overall thoughts. The one other thing I'd like to mention, too, is that we only have 6 1 p.m. games. Everything else is at either 4 or 8 or, on a Thursday or Monday.
Is it crazy that we're playing the Seahawks at 1 p.m.? Is that crazy? Because they're a West Coast team.
That's at home.
I get it, but that means that Seahawks fans are going to be watching that at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Or 9 a.m.
Yeah. I don't know.
10 a.m., yeah.
I haven't really looked at, and I haven't been really paying attention much to how the West Coast schedules are, but that is kind of strange.
Well, typically when you play a West Coast team, unless they're just like the bottom of the barrel, which, I mean, the Seahawks, made a postseason last year and should make it again this year, or at least are favored to. Playing them at 1 p.m. to where you have to watch them. If you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, you're getting up, getting out of bed, and the game's on.
Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals and the 49ers, I know that is in the West Coast, but those are slated at 4, everyone except for the Seahawks on the West Coast is
That's
a later
just typically
game.
what they do.
Yeah.
I wonder if that game, it can't get flexed because it's too early in the season, but interesting.
You guys ready for this one? The Chiefs.
Yeah.
The Chiefs only play 2 games at 1 o'clock or noon Central Time. Every other game is either 4:25 or a primetime game. They only have 2 normal 1 o'clock
How many
games.
primetime games do they have?
You can only have, 5?
Yeah.
6. You can have 6.
6, yeah. Week 1, Lions, the opening game. Jaguars, week 2, they play at 1. Then they're at 4:25 against the Bears. They play a Sunday night game against the Jets. 4:25 at the Vikings. Thursday night game against the Broncos. 4:25 against the Chargers. 4:25 against the Broncos. Dolphins where is that? That's across the pond, isn't it? That's at 8.
Yeah.
That's at 8:30 a.m. I don't know, one of the international games. Monday night football. Sunday afternoon. Sunday night football. Sunday afternoon. Monday night football. Monday. Why are they playing at noon? Oh, that's Christmas. Christmas they play at
They
noon.
play on Christmas?
They play on Christmas at noon, which is 1 o'clock Eastern. Sunday, that Week 17 game against the Bengals, 4:25, and then an undecided time against the Chargers in Week 18. So only 2 games at a normal NFL time.
That's crazy.
Bengals have 4?
Yeah, we have 4, but I'm imagining that we're going to get some games flexed at some point. And if you want to consider, Saturdays, I know it's not technically prime time, but that's going to be the only game on Saturday, more than likely at 4:30.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I don't know.
So, fun story about this schedule drop. You guys were talking about away games that you'd go to. So, I have been selected to be the best man of my best friend's wedding, who is not Thomas. It's on December 31st. My buddy said for the bachelor party, he wants to go to a road Bengals game. So, he said, all right, Chiefs is the number 1 game we want to go to. Ravens, Steelers are the games that we'd want to go to after that. So, obviously, December 31st doesn't work for Chiefs because that's the day of his wedding. The secondary option was go to Pittsburgh. Well, that's a week before the wedding, and it's also Christmas weekend, so that's a big old no. Okay, what about Cleveland? Well, that's the first week of the season, so that's 4 months away from his wedding, so that was a big old no. So we had to readjust the whole plans. We're going to go to Nashville.
You are going to Nashville.
So we're going to go over to St. Louis to watch the Reds play the Cardinals on Friday. And then we're going to drive to Nashville from St. Louis on Saturday and then go to Nashville. It's going to be a long trip.
Yeah, what are the chances this actually happens?
It's planned.
This seems like a lot of logistics.
It does seem. It's a 5-hour ride to St. Louis, a 3-hour drive from St. Louis to Nashville, and a 4.5-hour ride home.
A lot of time in the car.
That's where the memories are made.
Yeah.
What's the travel situation? Are you guys going in one like big van, or what are you doing?
Well, there's going to be like 12 people invited, so
no.
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 Yeah.
So we're not taking the Roadhouse truck?
The Roadhouse truck.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to nickname your truck. Also the perfected transportation, but
Talk me through the Roadhouse truck. I don't get it.
the peanuts.
Oh.
Roadhouse truck.
So my dad, when we drove out to Kansas City, my dad, the second that we get into Indiana, stops off and he gets a bag of peanuts. And he, instead of like putting them in a separate bag or something like that, is just cracking them and throwing them on the floor of my truck. He basically treated my truck like a pre-COVID Texas Roadhouse. Like, I mean, just chopping peanut shells everywhere in my truck. We stopped for gas at one point, and I just threw away his peanut. Like, I just threw it all away. I was like, we're not doing this anymore. Went on for a whole 8-hour car ride.
That's why it's called the Roadhouse truck.
I get it now.
Or perfected transportation.
It did perfect transportation. The 2010 Silverado 1500 was the perfection of transportation.
Nathan Hines would like to know, Reed, do you think your friend refers to you as my best man Reed when talking to other people?
He should. That's the only – you've got to qualify – when you're talking about someone, you got to qualify him, as Casey does with like my fiance, Alex, or my best man, Tomas.
I'll forever have the memory, Nathan Hines and I, he doesn't know this, but we're forever linked. Because on Saturday night at the bachelor party, at Casey's bachelor party, I was talking to Nathan Hines, which, by the way, fantastic guy.
Yes.
Great guy.
Awesome man.
Like, for anybody in the chat that has been reading Nathan Hines' comments for the last 9 months, great guy. I was talking to him about my girlfriend, Lizzie, and then I had to correct myself and say fiance. So that was the first time I said that out in the wild, and it was to our guy, Nathan Hines.
Nice.
Had to correct myself on that one. But that is a good question. The best man Reed. So we're all in that boat. I got asked a couple weeks ago to do that.
Nice.
So we're all kind of in that boat now.
Me and Casey are having a best man off to see who Paul, because we've been best friends since we were like 6.
Absolutely.
So me and Casey are gonna have a best man off to see who gets selected.
I think it should be a gladiator duel.
Right.
Gladiator duel.
I'm not counting out Tom. Tom has the best man.
Tom, if you're listening, it's on.
What about Tomas? What if I just came out of left field and said, hey, you did a pretty good job with Casey. I'll just hire you.
Yeah.
I don't know him that well, but
you want to hire someone with experience, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to get a first-time hire. So that's a good call.
his lady, I'm reading the chat. His experience, his resume, that checks out. Good job. Good job on Thomas for playing in that on Saturday, by the way.
He's all for it, sounds like.
All right, good. Leader of men, a joust. Thomas changed his profile picture. That's going to take a little bit of getting used to.
That is going to take some time to get used to.
Reed, your thoughts. Oh, yes, we do have some news. Leaf is back.
I think Leaf needs to get Leaf, if you're listening, get yourself a picture. The L, although it doesn't seem very becoming of Leaf to go out and change his profile. So I don't know.
That seems like too narcissistic of Leaf to do.
Correct. And Leaf's been on it. I was surprised to find out that Leaf was a Reds fan, considering he was a Vikings fan. Thought he'd maybe be like a Pirates fan or something like that, but I guess there's no Viking alternative.
I haven't been reading the chat much. Is he a Reds fan?
Yeah, he's saying Matt McClain has Viking blood, the whole 9 yards. So happy to see Leaf back.
Happy to see Leaf.
Are they happy to see Leaf back? Because he's been gone for a while. They thought we banned him or something.
Yeah,
like
I thought maybe like the helmet would
draw him back in.
Draw him back in. I don't know what he thinks of this. He hasn't really made too much comments on this because he hasn't been around for it.
Correct.
But I will not wear it out of respect unless he tells me that I'm allowed to wear it.
Well, we got to see how the Reds do today, Casey. Maybe do it when Tom comes back tomorrow.
Maybe.
Reed, your thoughts on the Bengals schedule? We haven't gotten yours at all yet.
I tweeted this out when the schedule came out, and I truly believe this. When the Bengals schedule used to come out years ago, you would look at it and you would start pecking them off, right? You'd be like, here's a win here, here's a loss here, here's a win here, here's a loss here. And you're trying to convince yourself back when it was a 16-game season, like, oh, they'll go 10-6. They'll make the postseason, maybe win the division. You try to talk yourself into that. The state of the Bengals right now is the schedule comes out, and I don't care. Like, I'm not reading it be like, week 1's a win, week 2's a loss, week 3's a win, week 4's a win. You're not doing that anymore because I truly believe that the Bengals are one of the best teams in the league. So you're not counting up wins and losses because the goal isn't to make the postseason anymore. That's not the goal. I mean, maybe I'll put my foot in my mouth if the Bengals don't make the postseason here, but it just seems like that's not the goalpost. The goalposts have been shifted back. Now you're trying to get back to the AFC Championship game as they have the past 2 seasons.
Is the goal this season? Let's step back. The goal is always with this Bengals team, this iteration of the Bengals team, and how they have set themselves up for success now with this franchise. The Bengals, you would say their goal every year now is to win the Super Bowl, and I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think a goal that I would say is realistic and a goal where I would say that this season is a success going into the Super Bowl would be hosting the AFC Championship game. We talked about making the postseason a couple years ago, finally winning a playoff game, getting to the AFC Championship game, getting to the Super Bowl. Hey, check. All in one playoff run. Now they got to host the AFC Championship game. That's what I'm looking for out of this Bengals schedule.
Yeah.
Because there's too many things that can go wrong. That we saw last year, the Bengals had the ball against the Chiefs, driving to win the game, couldn't do it, lose the game. Too many things can happen when you get to the Super Bowl or to a game like that. But to host, to be the number 1 overall seed in the AFC, I think is the realistic regular season goal for this schedule. Casey.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Home field advantage is just so important, right? I think we've seen it time and time again. All of us football sports fans just know home field advantage in terms of what it does for you on a football field is just so important, man. It just is. And I think there is something to be said that the jungle, it can get rocking, man. I mean, I don't know if you guys were you there, the Ravens playoff game?
Yep.
For the Hubbard 100 dash?
I was sitting right behind the end zone where he got the ball
right.
and then ran away from me.
We all went, right? And I don't know about you guys, but I've never heard it that loud, ever. And it was rocking. It just completely changed the whole momentum of that game afterwards.
I think the best part of that play was I had no idea what was happening because of where we were sitting in the scrum. It took until Hubbard was probably on the 30-yard line for me to even realize, because of the way the players were and where I was sitting and everything, and people like throwing stuff up and screaming. I'm like, I'm like, what's going on here? Then I finally pick it up. It was yeah, you're right, Casey. Crazy scene. Reed?
I almost jumped out of the stadium when that happened. All right, we're talking about the Bengals and the Chiefs and the Bills at possibly being the number 1 seed. You know one team that might sneak up and might take the number 1 seed?
Okay.
I like this take already.
The Jacksonville Jaguars. They play in the easiest division in the conference. And every elite team that they play, they don't play on the road. So they play the Chiefs at home. They play the Bengals at home. They play the 49ers at home. They play the Bills overseas. They play the Ravens at home. Like, all their tough games are at home, and they don't have that tough of a schedule because of how sorry their division is. They won 10 games last year, correct?
Yeah.
Or were they 9-8?
They were either 9 or 8.
I think they won 10.
10
Okay.
7, but
Regardless, I don't think it's too outlandish to think that they sweep their division, go 6-0.
They won 9.
Okay, so they sweep their division because their division's sorry. And they play these tough teams at home. They split those and then take care of the rest of the business. You're looking at a team that could easily go 13-4.
yeah.
And that might win that might be the number 1 overall seed.
Yeah, and I don't even know, like, if you just look at their schedule, they don't really – now, this – I'm definitely stealing a take from Colin Coward here, but they don't play elite quarterbacks back-to-back-to-back either. Like, it's all spread out. Everything for them is perfectly spread out, and they have home field advantage for all their tough games. That is a underrated team that could potentially get the number 1 seed. And I was just doing the same thing with the Bengals here. And unfortunately, it just feels like they play a lot of potentially really good quarterbacks, sometimes back-to-back, sometimes not. But if I'm going to just put it up one more time just so I can go through it with you guys. I'm not ready to crown Deshaun Watson yet, but we all know what he was capable of doing, being a top 5 quarterback. So It's not out of the question that he could potentially come back to his glory, but it wouldn't matter because Browns stink. Anyways, Lamar, I'm going to give him the elite status. When he's on the field, that team is just different.
Heck yeah, Casey. What a 180 from where you were in November. Telling me that
I still don't think it was
Tyler Huntley was a better option.
I still don't think that they should have signed him. But regardless, Matthew Stafford, I think we all know what he's capable of doing. I think he's been kind of under the radar here. And I know I think OJ will agree with me on that one. Geno Smith, that's another one that's underrated. I've been saying this for a while now. Seahawks, underrated team. Then you got you got Josh Allen, I'm sorry. We don't know what the 49ers are going to be yet. I know that's a tough game just because of their defense, and I know Brock Purdy was on fire, but we don't know what their quarterback situation is going to be like. So I'm going to skip over them for now. Josh Allen, elite quarterback. Then we got to play Lamar again, Trevor Lawrence, and then depending on what time that Vikings game is, Kirk Cousins, 1 p.m., better watch out. And then we play Mahomes again and Deshaun again. So I don't know, man. It's not brutal by any stretch of the means, but it's definitely not as favorable as the Jaguars schedule is for first place. So
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
I'm with you on that take. I like Jacksonville to potentially take that first seed, but they got to take the step forward too, right? They got to show that they have that they're progressing. That offensive line also got hurt as of late. They got that guy that was suspended. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but they tried to draft to replace that option. They lost their starting right tackle as well. So hopefully that they don't lose a step in that regard. But yeah, I like your take there, Reed.
Nice.
All right.
Thanks. That's just I just fire off good takes left and right.
Yeah.
That's what I do best.
That's what you do.
Expert.
You show up. Reed shows up here on the show, and he just fires off takes. I will not be here Friday. Reed will be sitting over there again on Friday, and Reed will be with Tom, Casey. It'll be a great show on Friday for you. And Reed, you're going to have some takes. And you also, how are we handling the chat power rankings this week?
Do we give it to Tom? Do we give it to Tom?
Whoa.
Now that's
Keep
a
the
step.
rotation going?
You are the one that started the rankings. You're the one that's in charge of them.
So your options, chat. We'll leave it up to the chat. Maybe make a poll.
Yeah, I'll
make a poll.
I'll make a poll.
That it'll either be me. Who do you want handling the chat power rankings? Do you want Tom for the first time ever, or do we want to keep it amongst the ham and eggers? So,
if Tom actually gave out legitimate chat power rankings,
I would be interested to see how it goes. I don't know.
I have no idea what his criteria would be.
Right.
I don't know how he would rank them. I don't know how many people he would rank. I say he's eventually gonna have to do it. So why not it be this Friday?
Why not?
I say we have Tom do it this Friday.
If I had to guess, I'm gonna say that the vote's gonna pretty easily win Tom's way.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's already got our opinions at least once, right? So we haven't gotten Tom one time yet. So I would vote for Tom.
All right. Do we want to talk about the NBA playoffs now, or do we want?
Do we want to talk about the NBA playoffs? Oh yeah.
Well, Reed, we also have some business that you and I need to talk about.
Oh, we have business?
You and I have some major business that we need to talk about.
That's a tease.
We could do it now. Do you want me to just go straight into it? I don't know if I want to tease the people. Reed, our beloved Dallas Stars play a Game 7 tonight.
Game 7 tonight. I knew you were going to go Stars. Knew you were going to go. I cannot. Are they playing defense in these games? Have you been seeing the scores?
The scores are outrageous. I have not watched 1 second of any of them. Not 1 second. But the scores are outrageous. What's going on?
Listen, these are the scores of the 6 games. In the first game, 9 goals scored. Second game, 6 scores. 6 goals are scored. Then went 9, 9, 7, and 9. So 4 of the 6 games that have been played, at least 9 goals have been scored. The Kraken have scored 7 and 6 goals in 2 different games. I'll tell you what, it's going to come down to defense. More than ever, the Stars are missing Ben Bishop. I don't know how we let Ben Bishop go.
Same.
But we got to rein it in. I think the Stars, if they can get through this Game 7, are the team to beat still in the postseason.
The total in this game tonight on the Betfred Sportsbook, which thank you to Betfred Sportsbook, as always, for sponsoring this show. The Kraken Stars game tonight, which starts at 8:10. Mm-hmm. The total at even money is 6.
It's 5.5 or 6.5.
I know. That's just 6. How hockey. It's 6.
It's exactly at 6.
It's 6.
They have not gone under 6 one time in this series.
And they've gone over by a lot.
They've gone over 6 every game but one. They've gone exactly 6 in game 2.
No way it doesn't happen again tonight.
Oh, it's a lock. Put it in, baby. Put it in.
No doubt.
If you want some free money from Betfred Sportsbook, just take the over. You know what? Go ahead and sprinkle that with the Stars money line too.
A Stars money line, which they are favored by a significant
They've been
amount.
favored every game by like 2-1. But they're at home tonight.
Plus 193 for the over and the Stars on the money line.
There it is.
In Dallas.
I mean, you've got a ring payment now. Just go ahead and go ahead.
Oh, so this is funny. The chat will appreciate this. I don't know if I told you guys this. So the first day that I went in to go inquire about the ring and have the first appointment day was the same day that Jackie died.
Oh, man.
So I thought I was going to have a car payment and the ring on this. I wasn't going to have to pay for the ring on the same day, but like in my mind, I was thinking car, ring, same day. It was laugh out loud funny. So when I got the call from Firestone that they said you might want to start looking into a new car, I was 20 minutes from having to go over to the jeweler. And my life just flashed before my eyes. And I immediately started to make sure that I picked winners and not losers.
Just imagine here in about 2 years, Paulie, you'll have a mortgage, you'll have 2 car payments, and you'll pay off the ring by then.
No, I paid for the ring up front.
Oh, nice.
I saved and saved and saved and saved. I paid for it up front. So
Nice.
no financing going on there. Paid for it straight up.
There it is. There you go.
Paid for it straight up.
Look
so I
at you,
don't have to
being
worry about
financially
that.
savvy.
Yes. But I do now have the wedding and a house and probably a car that I'm going to have to worry about down the line.
2010 Silverado. So there you go.
Perfected transportation.
You did?
NBA playoffs. Before we get to the NBA playoffs, let's just start off the top with what in the world John Moran is thinking.
God.
Or not thinking. What is a very clear ground rule. Don't show off a gun. Don't have a gun, but don't show off the gun. And it was only on the Instagram Live for a half a second, and that's all it took.
Yeah.
What is he thinking?
I mean, to be completely honest with you, I think I understand the precedent the precedent that has been set for him that you can't show a gun on Instagram Live or just on Live in general. I do think it's dumb that you can get in trouble for showing a weapon, especially the way that he did it, which was like almost off the cuff on someone else's Instagram Live for a half second. And now they're talking about suspending him for 40-something plus games. But it's already been set. You can't show a gun. You're going to get suspended. What are you doing? It's already there. Like, you've already been told. The rules have been set, and they're strictly enforcing it at this point. I mean, the rumor mill is, what, 40-plus games? That's like
That's half the season.
Yeah.
Hey, there's only 82 games in a regular season.
That's such a joke at this point. honestly. He's definitely not a nut cutter, as Tom would say.
Oh, not
Definitely
a nut cutter.
How do we get the NRA involved in this? This seems like their jurisdiction, guys. This is the right to bear arms. John Moran's just taking up his constitutional right. Free the man. Is this a free country or not? Come on.
I mean, what is the – you know what this is? It's the employer dictating what your life can be. Your employer says, this is the rules that you have to follow. This is the politics that you have to believe. Yeah, he's clocked out. But it's his employer punishing him.
We have rights.
This is ridiculous.
And they shall not be infringed. Read the Constitution, Adam Silver. Come on.
Read, any more thoughts on that? Want to tell us how you really feel?
Yep, I can see.
Okay. God, what a clown. I just don't understand. And look, I'm not in that position. I could never even dream to be in that position, to be a athlete like that at the level that John Moran is at. But you would think if it's happened one time and you've been warned one time and you know what's coming, that maybe, just maybe, you don't do it again.
Yeah, I mean,
you just don't do it again. It's common sense. And you look on Twitter and you see guys like, I think it was Paul Pierce that tweeted it out last night and talking about the generational difference in some of these older players that need to guide the younger players and show these guys the way and make sure that everybody's keeping their head on straight and making the right decisions. And, so many guys have gone through the NBA and have, transformed their lives and done so many good things and now have become so successful, even outside of actually what they've done on the court because of how they played on the court. And it's just a shame. It's a shame. But
it is a shame.
Man.
So it goes.
It's an infringement on freedom.
Let's talk about some players that didn't show up to nut cutting time.
There's two of them, Casey.
There's two of them.
Two big ones.
I hate to say that Tom was right, but Joel and James Harden, man, they just stink, man. When it mattered most, they just stunk. What's going on with them? You can't trust the process. You can't trust the process. They just Tom was right all along, and I hate to say it, but he was right. What are we doing? They played horribly when it mattered. Horrible. What was the final score? 88 to 118 or something like that?
They lost 112 to 88.
Oh, my gosh.
112 to 88 in a decisive Game 7. 112 to 88. How do you let that happen?
The league MVP.
Joel Embiid and James Harden, what they did, or better said, did not do yesterday, was flat out embarrassing. Flat out embarrassing. How do you perform so terribly at a moment like that when your team needs you as much as they did yesterday? I mean, that is unbelievable. It truly looked in that game yesterday like they just didn't want to be there or they didn't want to win the game. And then for Joel Embiid to get up there in the post-game press conference and say that he can't do it on his own.
Right. Played terrible. And then he's like, I can't do it by myself.
Guys, combined for James Harden and Joel Embiid, 8 of 29 for 27%. Then that's not even including the fact that they went 1 for 9 on 3. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's just time to scrap the process.
I think the process is done.
Yeah, it's over.
I think, and maybe this goes back to Tom being right again about trusting the process. The process is done. If the process wasn't done before last night, the process is done now. You look at Doc Rivers, not able to win in crunch time when not a nut cutter. Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes down to when he needs to win in Game 7, I mean, sure, he's at least not now, at least not anymore. He was at one point.
2008, right?
2000, yeah, back in the late 2000s, he most certainly was. But whatever that was back then is not around now.
Well, you want to know what's even crazier?
What's
The
crazy?
opposite happened for the Celtics. Jason Tatum just balled out.
51.
51. Just dropped it on their heads. I mean, dropped it on their heads. I mean, I don't know, man. It is. I'm very frustrated because I was very hoping that Joel and James could maybe make it to the finals because I wanted to see James try to get a ring for one. I also was on the train that Joel should have had an MVP at some point. Like, he played well enough. It's not his fault that one of the better centers of our time over in the Nuggets, Jokic is just every single day putting up a triple-double. But anyways, I was hoping, as a fan, I was hoping for the 76ers to win because I'm tired of the Celtics always being good. And that's just me as an NBA fan. I hate when teams are just always in the picture. Like, when I think of the Celtics, I think of like the Steelers or the Ravens or the Cowboys or whoever. Just these teams that are like historically great, always in the picture.
Sure.
And they just flopped. They stinked.
PB's Ghost asks, is Doc Rivers the Dusty Baker of the NBA?
Feels fair?
Maybe.
A little on a flip because Dusty was the one that it took so long to win.
Did it at the end of his career.
Doc did the winning at the beginning of his coaching career.
But it's the similar thing in that they constantly have great regular season teams. Then when it comes to NCT nut cutting time and net cutting time, didn't show up.
I really thought this was going to be the series for the 76ers. We talked about it the other day. I was very wrong. Tom asked the question, do the Sixers or the Celtics win this series when the Sixers were up 3-2? I thought Sixers. They get it done. No. And not only did they not get it done, you look at the second half of that game yesterday, Philadelphia was winning in the second quarter. I think by 9 maybe. 9 or 10 points in the second quarter.
Yeah.
They got blown out by Jason Tatum because, as you said, Casey, when push came to shove, Jason Tatum, the star for the Celtics, showed up, and Joel Embiid goes on after the game to say that he can't do it by himself. When, oh, by the way, you have James Harden, who single-handedly, pretty much, won the Sixers game one without Joel Embiid.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then Joel Embiid gets up there yesterday in a game that they very clearly could have won if the two of them had performed to their peak level. But nope. Not even close. Not good.
No.
Switching it over to the Western side.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Big time.
What would it mean for LeBron James's legacy to win this year?
I think it would mean a lot. I truly do. We have Ohio Lakers 513 in the chat. Massive Lakers fan. I think, would this be LeBron's best title? I think it would be. I mean, I'm a big LeBron guy anyway. I love LeBron. But would this be LeBron's best title?
It's the best path that he's probably ever had to face.
More than Cleveland. Come on. No way it's more than 2016 Cleveland. No way.
The 3-1 series?
Yeah.
No
But,
way
well,
it's better than that.
Well, this I think what he's saying is like this is probably the second best, maybe,
Well,
which would then solidify that.
The 3-1 series though, that Warriors team was really good. I guess I'm more so thinking of
They had the regular season record for wins that year.
No, I know they did. But something even still to me, looking at this year versus that year.
The path that you take to get to that point.
Yeah,
right?
because once you got to that 3-1 lead, and then Draymond gets suspended and some wacky,
This does not top 2016. It was his hometown, brought it for his hometown, came home to do that, did it against the best team in regular season history, down 3-1. Nothing can top that. And that doesn't take away from what it would mean to win this series.
Yeah.
What it would mean to go into the NBA Finals, to beat the Nuggets, who had a fantastic regular season, who have arguably the best player in the game.
Steve Ross makes a good point in the chat, and maybe this is more along the lines of what I was trying to say, maybe the most unexpected. Because back in 2016, the Cavs, they were going to be in the finals. Like, there was no question that they were going to be in the finals.
Well, not true. If you remember that the Celtics were good that year, right?
Yeah, but still, that was peak LeBron. I mean, you went into the season expecting.
Okay, fair enough.
You went into the season. Yes, you're right. They were good, but you went into the season expecting it to be Steph and LeBron in the finals.
There was people saying that the Lakers could be out of the playoffs entirely.
Yeah, totally missed the playoffs.
Yeah, totally missed.
That's
yes.
true.
And now we're at a point where if they can find a way to beat the Nuggets. I mean, this would be the most unexpected turnaround for a team that had high expectations before. It's just very weird. It's a very weird way that they've gotten here. And if you look at how they got here, you could argue maybe that Golden State wasn't the best this year as they have been in previous years.
Yeah.
But it was maybe one of the bigger hurdles for them to get past them. To now you got to play the Nuggets, who are odds-on favorite probably. And then if they can do that, they're not going to probably be favored in the finals between, well,
the Celtics.
I'm expecting the Celtics
Yeah.
to probably get past that, but
It would be laugh out loud funny if it was the Lakers and the Heat again.
again.
NBA rigged. But no, I think what I'm more so getting at with this season with the Lakers is looking at what their path would have been to get to the title, to get through the Warriors again, to get through the Nuggets, which is what they would have to do, and then to beat potentially the Celtics if it's the Celtics that win it. I know the 3-1 series, you can't take anything away from that because that was the first time that had ever been done. But something to me in the back of my mind can't shake a 38-year-old LeBron beating the Warriors, the Nuggets, and the Celtics in a year where they were more likely than not going to miss the playoffs. That says something to me.
You are absolutely right that it is his most unexpected championship. It is not his best. Nothing will top what he did for Cleveland in 2016. He came home to win a ring. He did it, beating the best team in regular season history, and did it down 3-1. This year will be his second best, and this will be number 5.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I don't recall how many players have won rings with 3 different teams?
Oh, I mean, I'd have to do some digging.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it would be the first one.
Robert Horry didn't do it? Because Robert Horry won 7.
Ori won with the Spurs, and he beat LeBron.
Yeah.
In 2007, whatever that was.
Did it with the Lakers, right?
Yeah.
Big shot Rob.
I have to go back and look. Okay. And you know the other thing, and again, we'll just kind of keep going back to this. I can't confirm that this was from Betfred Sportsbook, but somewhere the Denver Nuggets were plus 1,100. Plus 1,100 to win the title before the playoffs started.
Really?
The Nuggets were the best team in the West. The number 1 seed in the West was plus 1,100 to win the title.
Who did they expect to go over them? The Suns?
I think the Suns were the
Warriors.
favorite. The Suns, the Warriors, then the Nuggets in the West.
LeBron James is the 4th person to win with 3 different teams.
4th. Okay. Who were the other 3?
John Smalley, Robert Horry, and Danny Green.
Danny
Sally.
Green.
My bad. John Sally.
Yeah. But Danny Green had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Ori did it. Nice. Okay. 4th.
Big shot Rob.
Big shot Rob. Okay. We have about 10 minutes left in the show right now before we get to the cherry on top, which I believe oh, you know what? Let's go to Let's do the NASCAR.
Oh, my God.
Let's do Reed's weekend.
Thank you.
Reed has – what you're about to hear from Reed is something that we heard through the weekend in our text thread, and Reed needs to vent. He needs to get this off his chest. And you know what? I don't blame him because when he talked me through all of this and how this went down, I don't use the word unbelievable much, But this is unbelievable, and in a bad way. This sucks for this guy. So, Reed, take it away.
Okay, so I was in Nashville at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. They had a 3-race event, ARCA racing, which is what I was told. I don't know much about NASCAR. What I was told is the minor leagues of NASCAR. There were kids, like literally like 16 to 20-year-olds racing these cars. So the first 2 races go on. They're great, competitive. Go to this final race. It's a 200-lap race at the Nashville Speedway. This kid, William Sawolick, had pole position. So he started in front. He led the race for 198 laps and was smoking them, killing them. He was almost a full lap ahead of second place. I think he was almost a full lap ahead of second place. Lap 199, this happens. Is this the crash?
I think so.
Yes. Go ahead and play this. So lap 199, this happens. They come around. So he's 18. He's getting ready to lap people. Those aren't who's in first place. He is lapping other people. That's how far ahead he was. He was 18. So they put the caution flag up for 199. They then all bunch together as the caution flag. And Casey, you got the other clip?
Yep. I'll go.
This is what happens. So he's 18, was leading by a whole lap. Here comes the restart. He's just got to win this lap. Doesn't get off on the right foot.
Gets past.
They go around him on turn 1, turn 2, gets the outside edge, and then eventually loses it. Loses the race. Led for an hour and a half, 198 laps. And because of a wreck, on the final lap, everyone gets bunched together. How does the sport do this? I was so mad for this kid because he had been by far the best racer of the day. The only analogy that I could compare this to is imagine the Reds go into the final week of the series. They play the Cardinals. They are 8 games back of the Cardinals going into the final game, game 162. The game gets rained out, and they decide to play it the next day. All of a sudden, the commissioner just goes, all right, whoever wins game 162 wins the division. That's the dumb. It's so dumb that this kid led for 198 laps, killed him, and then on the final lap, because someone else's car wrecked, he loses his position and loses the race.
It's almost, I don't want to say it's rigged, but it feels kind of. I mean, like, that was the last lap, and someone just happened to spin out and cause them all to bunch up. I don't like that.
Oh, man, you think it's rigged, Casey?
Scripted.
Oh, no.
Just like the NFL. Every other sport. Scripted.
William Sawolick. Go ahead and take the future for him to win Daytona in 8 years. Go ahead and take that future.
And parlay that with the 2031 Masters odds for Charlie Woods.
So I didn't tell you this, but so I'm sitting in the infield, and they have the podium, right? They have the winner's circle. William Sawolick's family gathered at the podium with like 10 laps to go because he was so far out in front of everyone. Like, his family was like getting ready to walk up on the podium to celebrate with him. And then this restart happens, and he loses, and they all had to be pushed back, and the other kid wins. It was I've never felt worse for an athlete. Know nothing about the sport, but I felt so bad for William Sawolick.
Wow. Poor guy. I know, and when you sent that, I was looking at it, and I was trying to understand it, and then as soon as we saw the video, it makes a whole lot more sense now. I don't have a comment on that because Reed covered all the bases, and we feel bad. Should we send him a gift card?
No, I wonder how much money he makes. 16-year-old kid. He drives for Joe Gibbs. Like, that's who he's a part of.
Gibbs Racing.
Yeah.
Love Joe Gibbs. Washington legend. Okay, we also have a cherry on top, and this cherry on top is a segment, and it's going to start with a video. In case you have the video that I sent you? Yeah. Okay. This is going to start with a segment. This is the UDF cherry on top. This is going to be the final 10 minutes of the show. So this is very much non-sports related. Not sports at all. This was from the Taylor Swift concert over the weekend in Philadelphia.
Audio?
Audio. Need the audio.
Okay.
She's in the middle of her set. She starts yelling at the security guard. So she starts yelling at the security guard because the security guard was yelling at, I guess, a fan for being too close to the rail or something. And the security guard was, and she's just like dancing around. And the security guard's yelling at the fan, and then Taylor Swift yells at the security guard. So I am asking you guys, who is the one or two people in the world that you would not want to get yelled at by in a public setting like that?
Getting yelled at by Taylor Swift at her own concert. Getting publicly shamed at the concert.
Yes. Can you imagine forget your opinion on Taylor Swift. The chat's blown up about Taylor Swift. Forget your opinion on Taylor Swift. There's a bigger point to this. You're getting publicly shamed in front of not only the crowd, because everybody's filming that, and then that video that I just showed you had 5 million views on Twitter. It went all over on Twitter, went all over on TikTok of people trying to find that security guard, which they did. Somebody on Twitter did have an identity on that. I didn't see a name or anything, but like somebody saw who it was. Who is somebody that you would not want to get lit up by in public?
The only thing I can think of being worse than getting yelled at by Taylor Swift at her own concert in front of thousands and thousands of fans, and even fans sitting outside this stadium. Can you imagine getting yelled at by King Charles at his coronation? He just starts hollering at you like, "Get back!" Like that's the only thing I can think of at this very moment. That'd be worse.
If it's not a politician of high status like the president or, just someone from like the White House where there's a lot of supporters, like a rally, I would have to say like getting yelled at by someone that's beloved in a city of Cincinnati, like Joe Burrow. Could you imagine him just being like, "Pipe down, man"?
Can you imagine if Leaf said something in the chat towards him?
I'm already depressed. Just thinking about it. I was sad when Leaf left. He left because of me. It's very sad.
We don't know that.
We
don't know that.
I read. If I was at like 2002.
Okay.
2002, we'll just say I'm 26 years old.
Okay.
If The Rock yelled at me at a WWE
at
match.
WrestleMania 20?
At WrestleMania 20, if The Rock yelled at me, my life would be forever changed. I wouldn't be able to handle it. I would seriously have to do some soul searching. I don't know how I would handle that.
You were never a wrestling fan.
No, I wasn't, but I was a massive and am a massive Rock fan. Never a wrestling fan. So I'm only imagining if I had been a wrestling fan and had gone to that WrestleMania and The Rock had shown up and say I was in the front row and I was disturbing whatever they were doing, and he had the microphone and he, "Get back, son, what are you doing?" I'd shrivel up. That would be an all-time low moment.
What if instead of yelling at you, he just gave you the eyebrow, just looked at you, just...
That would be a compliment. The player formerly known as Mouse Cop says that he had a Medieval Times actor yell at him at one time in public.
Seems about his pace.
Nick Kirby's answer, Dolly Parton. Oh, man.
She is beloved.
Could you imagine you're at the Grand Ole Opry, you're in the front
Dollywood.
row, you're at Dollywood, you're getting on a ride.
Could you imagine, like, Betty White, if bless her soul, if she was still here and she chastised you in front of everyone?
That'd be tough. Be tough to come back from.
Man, I don't know if there's any other answer.
Taylor Swift over the weekend sold out Lincoln Stadium, whatever that's called. What's the Eagles field called?
Lincoln Financial.
She sold out the Link 3 straight nights, 70,000, and then on top of it, there was 20 to 25,000 fans sitting outside the stadium just dancing.
So I'm glad you brought that up. That was the last thing I wanted to talk about with this concert. We have 5 minutes left in this show. We all know here, if you've been listening off the bench, Taylor Swift's coming to Cincinnati.
Also Hamilton. June
30th and July 1st. Paul Brown Stadium is an open-air stadium because all these crowds have been gathering outside of the stadium at the open-air shows, not so much at the shows where there's been a roof, but the open-air shows. Is this going to be a situation? Eventually, there's going to have to be some like crowd control here if this thing that happens in Philadelphia keeps building and building and building. What's it going to look like? I'm legitimately asking, like, what are the banks going to look like?
I imagine that. So I don't have tickets, but I could definitely see Mariana like calling me up and be like, "Hey, all my girlfriends are going down. We're going down to the banks. Just going to sit outside the stadium because it's becoming a thing." I saw about a month ago when she played in Tampa. I have friends that are down in Tampa. My friend has a daughter, and she took her daughter to sit outside the stadium, and they just danced for 2 hours outside the stadium with her daughter, which was one of the most wholesome things I've ever seen. But now it's becoming a trend where, all right, if you can't get into the stadium, we're just going to sit outside and listen to the music and partake, and it'll be not like you're at the concert, but somewhat like you're at the concert. I could see the banks being completely filled. I
could too. With the way that sound resonates down the street. And imagine if you wanted to beat traffic and you left, not that anybody would, but I'm sure there might be a handful of people. There's always those people, got to beat the traffic, that would want to leave early. And you walk outside of the banks and there's 30,000 people just standing around out there. You're not beating anybody.
So, Paul, I have a question.
Okay.
So, recently, you not only bought Lizzie a diamond ring.
Yes.
To ask her to be your wife. Which
yes.
She then said yes.
She did.
But you also got her Taylor Swift tickets. The hottest concert in decades, maybe. Truly. It literally might be the hottest ticket in decades. You got her tickets for that. I don't think Lizzie's holding up her keep. What's she doing for you?
That's a great question.
Ooh. What's she doing for you?
What's in it for you?
You deserve better.
We're 48 hours into this. It's a great question. I know she's got me down the line. I don't know what that looks like. Well, we'll see. Taylor Swift, we came through. I almost blew that. But we're good.
If you would have blown that, would she have said yes still?
Yeah. Yeah, she would have. I don't think. Yeah, well, I say that. I don't want to speak for her. Chad Waits says, I would like to thank Thomas and Casey for the FaceTime for a quick shot. Who's Thomas?
Tomas,
my best man.
Okay. For the FaceTime for a quick shot you took at Casey's bachelor party. Pretty cool of you guys. Chad Waits, thank you for helping out for the bachelor party.
Yeah, we really do appreciate that, Chad.
We appreciate you.
You honestly did way too much, but we really appreciate it.
Chad was a newcomer to the chat, and he has just soared up the power rankings. He's number one. He's number one for a week.
Chad is the reigning number one in the chat power rankings, coming off of Casey's power rankings last week.
I have no idea in which direction Tom's going to take the power rankings. No idea.
We have a whole week. You know what? Okay. So last week we said it was Be Nice to Casey week, and we said, if you want to butter up Casey, without telling him, there's 64 people in the chat right now. Do you think we should butter up Tom for be nice to Tom? We're not going to tell him he's doing the power rankings till after Thursday's show. We butter up Tom for the week, and then we see how that goes. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday's show, and then going into Friday. Do you think that would play, or do you think he would catch on?
Let's butter him up.
All right, everybody. So that's what we're doing. Do not let on to Tom. It's just Be Nice to Tom week, and we'll see how he takes we will tell him after the show on Thursday that he has the power rankings. Let's do that. Although the chat's pretty good to Tom anyway. But maybe some people are extra nice to Tom. Or if you don't have anything nice to say, maybe you just don't say it. Or do you think that we have to tell Tom on Tuesday so he starts thinking about it? Because he's going to show up Friday morning, and then he's going to say, all right, here's my 5. Then he's going to give us the list, and we make a graphic.
I think we tell him.
I think this is a group effort. Do we tell?
We butter him up for the next 3 shows.
Okay, butter him up for the next 3 shows. We'll tell him after the show on Thursday,
and we'll get his take.
And we'll get his take. Perfect.
It's a perfect plan.
All right, everybody. This has been Off the Bench with Tom Brenneman, but today it has been with Paul Fritschner, also alongside Casey McAllister and Reed Mouse. Thank you all so much for watching today. Thanks again to Charlie Goldsmith for joining the show. If you missed that, you can go back and watch it as soon as this show is done. It'll all be up on YouTube. You can watch this on YouTube. As always, you can download this show in podcast form. This has been Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Tom will be back in this seat tomorrow at 10 a.m., and we'll see you all then.